The following is paid programming. Welcome to Something More with Chris Boyd, certified financial planner practitioner and founder of Asset Management Resources, LLC, a registered investment advisor firm. We call it Something More because we like to talk not only about those important dollar and cents issues, but also the quality of life issues that make the money matters matter. Here he is, your fulfillment facilitator, your partner in prosperity, advising clients across the country, your host, J. Christopher Boyd.
Welcome to Something More with Chris Boyd. I'm Chris Boyd, certified financial planner practitioner. I'm here with Jeff Perry, JD, an investment advisory representative.
Great to be here, Chris. Thanks for having me again.
Glad to have you with me. Thanks for always making the time. And, one of the things that I think we want to talk about today is that retirees are redefining retirement. We're finding that people... it used to be you'd leave work, you'd be done, you'd get the gold watch, I guess, and then you'd be off on the golf course or whatever it was. But now we find that more and more people are kind of easing into retirement. They're
Absolutely
not just pulling the plug on work, but maybe oftentimes they're scaling back or slowing down as part of the sort of a runway into retirement.
Well,
kind of like some of that idea.
I plead guilty.
Yeah, there you go. That's right. That pretty much shows you, and that's exactly it. More and more people are doing the same thing. There's a lot of reasons why that can be advantageous, both financial and social, psychological.
Yeah, let's talk about that stuff because it's not just money, and it's not just for something to do. It's a lot of good, healthy, productive reasons to do that. And when I knew we were going to talk about this, I looked up some data. So
everybody likes a little bit of important data.
I do anyway. So according to our government, 8 adults, obviously, says that's what it says on this report. People 65 to 74, the workforce participation rate, so the people who are working in that age, is 25.8%, U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, and they're predicting within the next 7 years that number will be over 30%. And
is this 30% of what is it that are doing this approach?
65 to 74.
Yeah.
And for the 75 and up crowd, it is 11%. So either... Yeah.
Oh, wow. Of the workforce, we're saying that's
of the people in that age.
Oh, that many people.
Yes,
are choosing to continue to work.
Yep. So right now, 65 to 74, 1 in 4, right?
Yeah.
And over 75, a little bit more than 1 in 10. So, and the projections for this, too much to explain this graph on a podcast, but the projections, it's a straight line up. It's not a hockey stick, but it's a gradual line up, meaning the trend is going with more people. Right. Yes.
I think that's good. And I guess it resonates with the experience of, what I have in dealing with clients.
Mm-hmm.
I have just loads of clients that are certainly in their 60s, continuing to work after they've left their, primary employer, or continue to work as a consultant, or maybe work at the same place but in a scaled back capacity, 3 days, not 5, or something like that.
That's super common. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a client who's now he's in his 80s, but he's been doing consulting for probably a decade.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of merit to the idea. And of course it doesn't have to be necessarily the same kind of work for people. Sometimes people just want some spending money, some income, but lighten the load on their financial strain and have some place to go, people interact with.
Absolutely. I think there's a number of people who have had a passion. They've had their job. They needed to support their family or their profession. They've had their profession. They've had their lifelong career. And then they think about, okay, I'm going to retire for whatever reason. and maybe there's a passion they have or a hobby that they turn into a part-time business or working at something that they
Yeah.
love. I have a friend down. I'm in Florida. I have a friend down here who spent a I don't know 40 some odd years into the military, and a
Mhm.
great career, very a patriot. He's a great American, and he works at the Met Stadium down here. He loves baseball.
Ah, there you go.
And
Yeah.
he's a security guard, but he's not, if you asked him why he goes, not to provide security. He just loves being at the ballpark all day and interacting with either the Mets in spring training or we have a minor league team here. So he's like a kid in a candy store walking around the
Yeah.
stadium all day and keeping order. I don't know how much he actually keeps order, but
Yeah, but I totally get it. He's there. If there's someone who gets unruly, he'll help deal with that. But
and he
he's
can,
watching.
by the way.
He's there watching the game too. Yeah.
He's probably 70, early 70s, but he's totally capable of handling those unruly
Yeah.
events still.
Yeah. Right. I can totally picture it. When we had tickets for the Red Sox this last season,
Hmm.
um, there was always this one guy in our
Yeah.
section
Hmm.
who was always there, and he looked like he was kind of that same kind of story. Um, in retirement, maybe it was kind
Yep.
of his thing to do, and so he's getting access to see much of the game. But during the breaks in the innings, he walks down and is visible. That kind of.
Oh, absolutely. And for my friend down here, the money that he makes, he'd probably do it for free. But
Yeah.
the money that he makes, he just considers that is like do whatever I want money. Like,
Yeah, exactly. It's like a little bit of spending cash,
hmm,
pocket money. Um, I know. I've seen guys who work for the dealership, and they drive people around. How when someone brings their car and they need a ride back to work or
sure.
something. What a good retirement gig that's got to be. Just driving people, making conversation and
So
whatever.
there's lots of opportunities like that. Besides the
The
uh,
consultant or the professional, or just cutting back the hours, but still having a lot of the responsibility
right.
that you have. And of course, there's the obvious, you know, paper or plastic or welcome to Walmart or
Right.
whatever it might
Home
be type
Home
stuff.
Depot, yeah, all
Yeah,
that thing, which is,
sure.
but it's not, so you're making money. So my wife, we both retired from our careers, but
Hmm.
she does senior care, senior companion care. She works, 12 hours a week, and it gets her out of the house. I'm speaking
Yeah,
for her now. It gets her out of the house. She's doing something meaningful.
yeah.
Right? She's
Helping
she's
people.
being
Yeah,
a companion to someone who's probably lonely and maybe doesn't drive, driving Miss Daisy type thing, right?
yeah, right.
So she comes home happy and her clients are happy, and so and she's making a few dollars,
So
right?
there's not only a sense of a little bit of money, but fulfillment coming from that.
Purpose.
Hey,
That is
I'm having a positive impact on my community, the people I interact with.
I think that is significantly important in your life, obviously, generally,
Mm.
but something when you step away from your career, you lose a few things. That you gain a few things. Obviously, you gain time, you gain leisure, you get to make more decisions about your day. But
Yeah,
in the data tells us this is especially in males, but the 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 purpose part of it, right?
yeah.
What's my purpose? What am I doing here? Why am I here? And so you can't get the same purpose by playing pickleball or golf. That's fun. That's
I mean,
entertainment.
it might be fulfilling for some people. It's social. It's physically fit. There's elements of it that are uplifting. You know what I mean?
I'm not diminishing the social part of it or the exercise part. I'm saying everyone's different, and some people really benefit from having a part-time job or a volunteer opportunity where it's giving you a purpose in life. You're giving back to the community, and for a lot of people, including my wife, that's important to her. She wants to do that.
Absolutely,
She
absolutely.
plays pickleball too, and
Yeah,
she has lots of friends and all that. But having that purpose of being a productive, positive
yeah.
giver to
So
the
I think
community.
I think this is a common thing though, where people will say, um, I've shared my father-in-law is his experience where he retired
Right.
and then kind of got bored. Said,
Yes.
I'm going back to work. And now, so there's a financial benefit to that. You're not draining your investments,
Good
so
point.
forth, for income or to the extent that you otherwise might. And you're occupied. You're not out spending money, right? You have somewhere to
Oh,
go, and
that's true.
you
Right.
know it's not like if you didn't have that, you might go off and do something that would spend money.
Right.
But for him, I think it was a combination of a social element where it was really important to have that interaction, but he also had a sense of purpose, felt needed.
Hmm.
Felt like he was contributing, and all that. So I think it really scratched that itch that gave him something um, to look forward to as he got up every morning or gets up
Right.
every morning. He's still doing it, though. I think he's getting close to changing his direction on maybe try retirement again.
It
So,
also helps you to know what day it is.
well, that's a good point. Yeah, I suppose if you don't have anywhere you have to
Mhm.
be, right?
Right. And
So,
all of those things.
but I think your point about fulfillment, purpose,
Hmm.
is really an important consideration for this. That you know, when that can come from a work outlet, like you're talking about with your wife,
Right.
um, but it can also come from volunteerism.
Absolutely.
So, whether one continues to work part time or not, there's maybe time for things that also help to scratch that fulfillment itch of like, what am
Hmm.
I doing to have impact? What am I, what's going to bring meaning to my life in this stage of my life? I think it is a valuable thing to give thought to. Now, I think it's also fair that some people are just happy with, hey, I've done my work, raised my family.
Right.
They've had that stage where they feel like I've done the work part of it. Now I'm in a more um, relaxed stage. You know what I mean? Where they have time for the things that are more pleasure oriented.
I think that's very true. And I also think it's important when someone enters retirement, no matter what they think they're going to do, that they give themselves some time and some grace because it's a transition. It's a transition from a very, depending on what you did for work, but you could be coming out of a very rigid environment, meaning you have to be at some place for these hours and do
Right.
these tasks, and you have X numbers of weeks of vacation and so forth. So, you may look at that as a good or bad thing, like, but when you enter into retirement and you don't have that schedule, it takes time. When we first retired, we felt like we were just on a long vacation.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then other things come in though, like, well, we should do, we have to be purposeful about our time because time will just pass. You hear how many times do you hear
Exactly.
someone in retirement say, I don't know how I had time to work.
Right.
Because
Hear that all the time.
like it's a vacuum. Things fill up, good things or bad things,
Yeah.
whatever you choose.
Nature abhors a vacuum. Yeah, I got
That's
you.
right.
So
Absolutely.
something will fill that space if you aren't intentional about how you do. And if we all recognize time is limited, we just
That's right.
don't know how limited, how
Hmm.
quickly, how much. But if we recognize that, then we want to be intentional about Um, and there's nothing wrong too, Jeff, with saying, this is a vacation stage of my life.
That's right.
I'm going to take a little bit of time and just enjoy." But for many people, you then say, "Okay, now what?"
Now
They
what?
want some kind of a ritual, a routine of what do I do today, not just to get out of bed and be like, "Okay, now what?"
That's right.
um, but also a sense of purpose of
Hmm.
um, whatever that is. Maybe for some people, it's maybe about impact and community and so forth. And other people, it may be something very different. It may be just a sense of where do I go? What do I do? It's like
Hmm.
it's just that there is a plan.
Yeah.
Um, that kind of thing, so that brings some structure. People tend to do better with structure when they then
That's right.
without.
Even if the structure's loose, meaning like
Yeah,
every Tuesday I do this or every Saturday I
right.
do this, right?
Exactly. It's not necessarily the same every day.
That's right.
It's 10:03. I have to, whatever that is, right?
Right.
You but yeah. So in any case, I think we kind of went a little bit off track on our conversation, but it's sort of related. But when thinking about work or semi-retirement, let's talk just briefly. There is obviously the financial benefit.
And there's some that some people might not think about. Like if you're depends on, where you are and your age but if you haven't started collecting Social Security yet, for example, and
Yeah.
and maybe using non-retirement assets for your cash flow or whatever. But there's a benefit to working, not only having cash in your pocket, but you may still be contributing to your employers or
Work
your own.
plan. Yeah.
And if Social Security is based on your 35 highest years of earnings. So
Right.
you could be replacing some zeros with some numbers or
Yeah.
replacing
Or
some,
those days when you were working part time,
right,
when you first were in high school or something, or
right.
so that can improve those numbers. That's a good point.
Yep.
And if you're pre-retirement, full retirement age, Social
Right.
Security, um, it might allow you to refrain from drawing from your Social Security rather than turning it on by having
Right.
part-time income. And if you're post full retirement age, it may afford you the opportunity to push it off a little bit. All of these will create higher Social Security benefits for you over a longer period of time, presuming you live say to 80 or
Right.
somewhere thereabouts.
So to put some numbers for that. So if you're just say approaching 62 and saying, should I be taking my retirement now or should I wait? And so a lot of people will take it early, even if it's not the best math for them, because they need the cash flow then, right? They need the cash flow earlier. But if a part-time job can delay that to full retirement age or the maximum age of 70 in our current example,
Yeah.
that will pay off significantly if you're able to do that. And
Yeah.
you're getting these other non-financial benefits of the social connections, the purpose, all the things we just talked about. It could
Right.
really be a win in both areas of this discussion.
Yeah. So on the one hand, you're spending less from your retirement stash, you know,
Absolutely.
and on the other hand, you may even be adding, you know, and you've got money in your pocket from these, to utilize.
Absolutely.
Not for everyone. I mean, I think there's a lot of people out there, Jeff, who are saying, I want to retire as soon as I possibly can. And that may be the idea that I don't like my work anymore. It's a necessity. I
Right.
do it, but I really would rather spend my time on something else. And of course, we espouse the idea of financial freedom and the appeal of that. But I do think, if you don't have some of the pressures of your work life,
Hmm.
uh, then it may be a different
It's
equation for a
different.
lot of people, right?
It's different.
So you
Yeah.
may still say, "All right, I don't mind doing this," like your friend who's working at the ball game,
Yeah.
or whatever. There may be some things that are appealing to you that actually come with a paycheck, or it may just be um, ultimately about trying to relieve yourself of the strains and the stress of the work you've had.
Yeah. I would say this to this general topic. Don't if you're doing your retirement planning and hopefully working with a financial advisor that you trust to model out your financial calculations and all those things. And two things: don't retire assuming that you'll be able to work part-time, meaning don't think you are going to be able to earn X dollars every year for the next 10 years, say, because
Hmm.
something could happen in your life, a medical issue or whatever, that you may not be able to, right? And
Yeah,
also, don't assume you're not going to work in retirement. Like, if you're the person who had that difficult job and you just need to retire, you can't take it anymore,
yeah,
that's okay. And, but realize that in 6 months or so, or whatever the time period is for you, that could change. And work may not, semi retirement, we'll call it, work is not going to feel like work. It's going to feel like different. So be open to it, but don't count on it. And the other thing I
yeah.
want to say is a lot of these issues, Chris, we talked about, I don't know, it's probably a month ago when
I was
we
just
did.
going to bring that up too.
Oh,
Yeah.
go right ahead. Yeah, go right
Yeah,
ahead.
just that we had and one of the things I was going to mention in that retirement red zone which was the webinar you were about to mention,
Right.
which can be found on our website, amrfinancial.com. One of the things that was talked about was this idea that people go through stages in retirement. And, initially it's sort of that elation of the vacation, right?
Absolutely.
But there can become a disillusionment with that at some point where people just find themselves in a rut, feeling unproductive, feeling unappreciated because of their maybe lack of social connections and things of that sort. So, these are things for you to keep in mind, but you can find out more as you're maybe dealing with your own planning. Check out our podcast, our website that we posted our webinar. It's also on our YouTube channel. You can find that. So the Retirement Red Zone, we did it, like I said, about a month ago, and you can find it at amrfinancial.com.
Yeah, we talked about these very issues, and so if you're
A whole
thinking
lot
of
more.
and healthcare issues and legacy issues and income, it's an hour and a half of great content, and people should
And
check
it's
it out.
recorded, so if you want to jump around to stuff that's of relevance to you, you don't have to necessarily sit through the whole thing, or you can do it in stages or something like that.
Absolutely true. Yep.
Jeff, what do you think? I think we covered it.
Yeah, I just want to end on a note that don't try to do all this alone. I mean, it can be emotional. It can be maybe you feel like, what can I do in retirement, or how does this really impact my plan? Turn to everyone should have a trusted circle of advisors. You should have an attorney, not on retainer, but someone that you can talk to about those legal issues, those legacy issues. If you have a complicated tax thing, tax return, you should have a CPA that you deal with, and you should have a financial advisor that has your best interest at heart, and someone that you can say, how does working or not working affect my financial plan, and how might it affect my Social Security, and some of the things we're talking about.
It's very true. And, I will add to that, sometimes people actually can benefit from some manner of coaching, and the professionals you talked about, some may be able to help in that regard.
Right.
Sometimes someone who can help you kind of think about, well, what is going to bring purpose to my life at this stage of my life? What's that going to look like? Reimagining one's future and its virtues, its values. Sometimes it can be helpful to have a partner in that to help guide you through, someone who's dealt with it with other people.
Well, you, for example, you've been talking to people in the retirement setting for decades, so I won't say there's nothing new, but you've seen a lot of these scenarios and seen what people have done and the traps people have fallen into on the other side of it.
Yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, our focus really is more on the financial, and as much as we try to incorporate aspects of one's fulfillment, the fulfillment facilitator we referenced, right?
That's right.
But there are times that someone who's specifically oriented toward that as a sort of a coach can really have value in helping you sort of navigate and get more granular. Think about those routines. I'm not talking to people about their routines, you know what I mean? But there are people who will help you think this through and help you give thought to what's really important to you. And, you talked about legacy, which was talked about in the webinar that you spent time on. But sometimes that's something that requires time and thought. And how do I communicate this to my family? And there are people with specialization that can be a resource, and we can certainly help people identify and find those if it's helpful.
Yep.
So with that, until next time, keep striving for something more.
Thank you for listening to Something More with Chris Boyd. Call us for help, whether it's financial planning, portfolio management, insurance concerns, or those quality of life issues that make the money matters matter. Whatever's on your mind, visit us at amrfinancial.com or call us toll free at 866-771-8901 or send us your questions to radio@amrfinancial.com.
You're listening to Something More with Chris Boyd, Financial Talk Show.
Asset management resources
Services, LLC, and J. Christopher Boyd, CFP, provide investment advice on an individual basis to clients only. Proper advice depends on a complete analysis of all facts and circumstances. The information given on this program is in the nature of general financial comments and cannot be relied upon as pertaining to your specific situation. AMR, LLC cannot guarantee that using the information from this show will generate profits or ensure freedom from loss. Listeners should consult their own financial advisors or conduct their own due diligence before making any financial decisions.